care possible for the kiddos that we serve. And by doing that, we need a system that will help us grow. That does introduce multiple systems in order to facilitate a all-encompassing EHR. And we want to make sure that there's behind-the-scenes integration through some tools that we have so that no matter what role that you're doing, you're still able to access as single pane of glass as possible, one system hopefully, and reducing duplication of effort between multiple systems. And that's where MD Clarity also potentially comes in as a partnership opportunity to try to fill in some of the gaps where our current EHR is lacking. I think Matilda might be mentioning this on a future slide, but we also have a new phone system coming to Texas soon. We're just wrapping up the agreements on that, and then we'll enter into the design phase. So some really nice improvement in our geographically diverse workforce. And then with that, just dynamic work locations. I know we've had to all get creative in 2020 with COVID-19 and how we interact with our work and how we're able to just facilitate work. So hats off to everybody on the team for finding new creative ways to be able to still maintain your efficiency and still continue to get the job done and take care of our kids. And that's really admirable. And as I said earlier, the IT department is here to help if you need any additional equipment or need some help with just creative ways to still access that information. And then lastly, as part of the process, we will be actually deploying new equipment and new laptops. We are moving to a laptop first strategy. So unless you work in a business line or a job role that specifically requires you to have a desktop, we do want to give you a laptop so you do have that flexibility to work where it makes sense for your role, and as well as having a good disaster recovery and business continuity plan in place so that if, God forbid, a COVID-19 thing happens in the future, we're better prepared to handle it and disperse our workforce and still maintain our service levels. So if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out through chat, Teams, email, give me a call. I'm here to help, as well as our help desk stands at the ready. So thank you very much and be safe.
Thank you, Rick. So now we will talk about the integration update. We want to give you an update on how the project that have been going on, and Rick just mentioned the phone system that Tammy Guidry is involved to make sure they know what is specific to Texas, what we're using, what we like, what we would like. So Tammy is really involved in that. We also work on the clinical and how our process can be integrated with the video translation that in Spanish, as in Texas, we have a very strong Spanish population. We also reviewing the material that we will give at setup and as a training for our patient. We also work closely with the education department in Minnesota to update any product like the one in back orders. How do we improve our communication to this patient? As we are trying to be better together, we are looking at the process integration, and manager have started to look into the M file, what is the process library of Minnesota, and they're also working with their counterpart in Roseville. As the Rick mentioned, also the CRM for outreach, Sugar, is being worked by Matt and Rachel to make sure we can track the contact that we have and how we can develop more business. Communication, it's something that Dana in Roseville that she will present later will speak also, but we increasing our presence in social media. We will soon change our website management, and we're working more and more on some material like brochure. Telelanguage. So as we say, we have a very diverse state, and sometimes you need help for translation, and we put in place and you receive training about need to have an interpreter. So don't hesitate to use that when you feel you need it. Compliance alignment. So Amy Bradbury is working with compliance department about some telehealth as we had to adapt, but also new AOB and coding audit. We also working on the HR side with the Sidekick program that some of you have been involved. We also did the training yesterday, and we have 2 more sessions to come. And we're working to think about a better onboarding process. So all of that is really to be better together, to have a better understanding of all the branches now. And it's a work in progress, but we're feeling that now it's coming all together. So Dana, we'll turn it to you.
Great, thanks guys. I am here today to talk about the transition from our current co-brand logo over to the PHS logo. So while there certainly are many elements of communication and marketing that fit within integration, I know that the transition of the brand is possibly one that brings the most question and interest and intrigue from staff. So we just wanted to demystify that process and let you guys know what's happening. As Mathilde mentioned, we'll be moving into creating collateral certainly, and then looking for website enhancements and then a unified social media presence. I'm just going to focus more on the timing and what you can expect from the brand transition in the next few months. So if you don't mind going to the next slide, Mathilde. So we co-branded right out of the gates. Why do we co-brand? It's really to make sure that we are creating a presence in our new market that feels approachable and that unifies our 2 new partners. So we don't want to disrupt the referral streams that are happening. We certainly don't want to confuse our patients, and we don't want to confuse our referral sources as to who to send referrals to. So having the co-brand approach right out of the gates is a nice way to start to introduce the look and feel of PHS while still giving the familiarity of the care group logo. When we look at the timeline, there are several pieces of integration that are critical that they take place prior to a brand transition. So while a unified brand is something I think we're all looking forward to, pieces like accreditation are particularly important to make sure that those decisions are finalized and in place prior to transitioning a brand, to make sure from a compliance standpoint, we're all good to go. So right now we're targeting late fall, but you will start to see some minor brand presence as construction happens. So I would say you'll likely see paint colors, maybe different cubicles than what we're used to seeing, elements like that, where PHS will start to pop into your environment, and then we'll have more presence of the brand once that final transition happens in late fall. If you don't mind going to the next slide. And then when that transition does happen, as PHS does, often we will celebrate. It's going to be a time of a lot of excitement to make sure that we're unifying our families, and so we won't go without a party. I can guarantee that much. But if you have any questions on the current co-brand or on the transition timeline, we just wanted to make sure that we're addressing this. We came out with the co-brand logo, and I'm sure people are wondering, what's going to happen with the care group brand, and so how are we going to move forward with that process is what we wanted to make sure we covered today. But if you have any questions on anything marketing related, collateral related, website, social media, feel free to come to myself or anyone on the marketing team back at the Roseville office, and we'd love to help you out. So I'm going to pass it over to Judy to close us out.
Actually, we had a slight change in the agenda. We're going to have Mathilde close it out because she would like to provide the instruction for us to join in the Q&A with Cameo.
Yes.
So thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Dana. So thank you for your time. Now it's time for the Q&A with Cameo. So you will not do it in Teams, but you will do it through the webinar, and you have certainly already registered. And with the email of Jody, if you have not, please do. And they have give you instruction to log in with the link. If you are not able to hear it, here's a dialing number with the access code that you can also find in the invitation. But please, if you can take note of that, so like that, if you're able to just not hear correctly Cameo, you can always use your phone and dial in and type your question on the webinar. So looking forward to see you in 5 or 6 minutes on the webinar. Thank you.